Hi, it's Danielle Weinblatt, and it is yet another episode of Podcast by the Pool. And I have a very special guest. She is a wonderful icon in our industry. Maren Hogan is here chatting with me today. And she is an entrepreneur. She is a talent acquisition expert. She knows a lot about the industry. So I think before I go on, I would like to just have Maren tell everybody what she's been up to, at least for like the last 6 months. Just share with us.
All right. No, that's a great question. So for the last 6 months, I've been speaking a lot about talent acquisition and specifically around investments in technology in the space. And I've also been sort of pivoting Red Ranch Media, my agency that works in the space, as you know, to a membership model, which has become very popular with our clients and our employees, and been training other agencies on how to sort of build that model. So it's been a crazy year. Turning 40, I guess I just got like my brain cells started popping, and so it's been really fun. And then of course, you know, family stuff, kids going off to college and all that fun stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's super crazy. So let's talk a little bit about investments in the industry. So what in your mind has been a good investment and what has been a bad investment?
Oh, so I don't usually look at it that way, right, with the hindsight model. In my head, it's more like, and I could probably come up with an example in a second, but in my head, it's more like, okay, we know that all of these niche players are coming out. We know that a lot of these things that are features in larger sets are coming out with their own sort of platform, and then they're getting sort of gobbled up or acquired or merging, as you recently did. And so we're seeing just a lot of consolidation, right? Same as we did about 6 years ago and about 4 years before that. And so I think there's going to be a massive contraction in the market, probably as early as next year, just when people's budget starts tightening just a little bit. And when it comes to investment, it's more from a practitioner standpoint. Like, okay, if I'm going to invest in one of these really large players, I need to be able to speak to a solution architect or somebody who understands the product roadmap in order to know that they're going to be able to handle, you know, my needs, my talent acquisition needs. On the flip side, if you are investing in a innovative but rather new player, you need to build your strategy around the fact that they may, you know, be acquired soon. Look at their integrations. Look at who, you know, they're working with the most closely, and then just be aware, is that where I want to go? And just ask for that sort of transparency from them. So things like that, helping practitioners make the decisions based on kind of what we're seeing in the market and what we've seen historically.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So what specifically are you excited about with regards to technology right now? Like, we're at the HR Tech Conference, and there's just a million and one things in the expo. You know, you've been doing it for years. I've been doing it for years. I think we did the Cabana this year because I could no longer do that expo hall. It's just like too much.
We should just ask HR Tech to have it all out here next time, right? We could just give you the pool and
it'd be so much better, right? But like, it's just so much stuff. So like, what are you excited about, and like, what do you wish would just never appear ever again?
Okay, what do I wish would never appear ever again? I can't think of that, but I am excited about some of the, and it's weird because pulse surveys kind of had a thing about like 3 years ago, but now I'm seeing a resurgence in the way that they're selling them and the way that they're having their clients adopt these things. And that's what I think was historically missing when companies would buy the tech, and then they wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't solve their engagement problem. They didn't have any better idea of where their employees were than before, and it's mostly a change management, like, how do we make this sticky? How do we make this, you know, actually work within the organization? And so companies are getting smart enough to say, okay, well, we have this great product, but we need to have this great service. We need to have a good client service, client success team. So that's one thing. Pulse surveys, the engagement tools that I'm seeing, I'm really excited about. The other thing is, and I have to say that I think I've worked with probably literally every AI company in the space. So with that caveat, I am excited about what AI is bringing to the table. I know that people are worried about bias. I know that they're stressed out that it's going to, you know, take their jobs or whatever. I think some of those fears are founded and some of them are not. But I'll be very excited to see what talent acquisition, especially like really talented TATM folks, can do when the admin and the drudgery bit is taken away. And even just chatbots, which aren't really even AI, even just automation is starting to pull some of that back. And it's really, really nice because we've had it, we're used to it in the consumer world, and then we said, okay, well, then we need to have it when we're acquiring talent, when we're recruiting and sourcing. And now it's like, okay, well, now we also need to have it within the work experience, right? So if I need to figure out what my benefits are, I don't have to like have, call Pam in HR and, schedule a thing and she's not sure if it's up to date or whatever. I can just like have those FAQs, sort of responded to. And as it learns my situation and life situation, it can help recommend things for me.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So then tell me, what's going to happen to Pam? So, like, if we don't call Pam anymore, like, what is Pam going to do?
So I don't know if it's usually never appropriate for me to say, hey, my company is like other companies. We're 30 people. We're tiny little something in the middle of Nebraska. But we have somebody in our company that we know we didn't need an HR person yet because a lot of the, like, kin HR and rippling and some of these things are very easy to sort of deal with, and they're built for small businesses. But she does the things that HR kind of should do. She takes care of them. Yeah. So instead of wrestling with the PTO figures and like dealing with spreadsheets, she's ensuring that they have like everything that they need to go on and learn at a conference or something like that, or they have everything that they need, or she recognizes, oh, hey, like, we're like 80% girls and everyone's synced up, so maybe we need to have certain supplies around at certain times or whatever. Yeah. Just things where you're actually taking care of the humans, both from a human angle, right? Humans have, their certain emotional needs, but also from like learning and development or planning for the future. So I think what happens to Pam is she becomes more resourceful, but also is able to care for the things that actually do lead to engagement and actually do create a company culture.
Yeah, that's interesting. I totally agree. I joke around and I say that, do you ever see the Showtime Billions? Have you ever seen that? Well, there's this one character, and she's the in-house psychologist, and she's there to help everybody inside the company just get their mindset on. And so she's like their head of HR, and they believe that the business success is tied to your mindset. And so that's why they have someone who's a trained therapist who can counsel the investors every single day if they have an issue, because they know that your mindset contributes to the decisions you make on the trading floor. So
that's awesome.
It's very, very interesting. It's a cool show. So you're the CEO for several years now. So what is your biggest challenge on a daily basis? Like, what do you find the most difficult to manage as the leader of a company?
Wow. That's a really big question. And as you well know, it changes on the regular. Yeah. It's all over the map. I think for me, really learning how to deal with employees, not just from how do I get the best work out of them, but also how do I give them the best path to the career that they want? Yeah. How do I help them, learn how to deal effectively with clients? How do I pass on some of the knowledge that I've learned and learn not to pass on some of the things that might be internalized in me as like a slightly older woman who's dealt with certain things that maybe they won't have to deal with, thank God. So just really learning how to be the best leader, I think, is the hardest job of a CEO. Yeah. And then recognizing, and I've gone back and forth and talked to other CEOs about this, as to when it's time for you to not be CEO anymore, right? Like there are times when it's like, okay, there's a better person for this job, and maybe I need to be a founder or dive into product or whatever. Everybody has their own path, but really understanding that leadership bit on the employee side. On the client side, it's really just about providing that excellent service. I mean, HR tech is always so fun because you see people that you haven't seen in ages and that you worked with ages ago, and they're like, hey, let's work together again. And that's when you know that you've actually provided a quality product, a quality service, and then you get proud again and you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, and so related to that, so you've done amazing work. So what is a good example or case study of some consulting work that you've done that's just really resulted in an amazing outcome for an organization?
Oh man, we have a bunch of examples. One that comes immediately to mind, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name, so I'll just say a big global RPO. I don't know if they'll let me.
No worries. It's fine.
And they were doing this. They were trying to get this company in a relatively rural area in the southeast United States that was just having retention problems, and they weren't able to hire a lot of people. There was a massive opioid crisis in the area. Wow. They were just trying to get people hired that didn't have a drug problem, right, and that could stay with the company for a while. And so we worked with that company to build out some recruitment marketing plans and employer branding plans for that area specifically. And I think we had like 2 weeks or something. So
It's fast.
yeah, and we had to get everybody to this career fair, and it just like, it was a massive success. They hired everyone that they needed to. We had some really innovative, like, gas station topper advertisements, and then like an SMS campaign, and worked with the Chamber of Commerce. So it just really worked well on the recruitment marketing side. On the vendor side, which is, as you know, what we primarily work with in the HR space, we've just seen so many of our clients this year, especially, get massive funding after, or getting acquired or getting a big pile of funding after we like sort of got their marketing into a place foundationally where people could see the value.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I would say those things. And then just like little things that people don't see that marketing agencies do, affecting the pricing of something, or saying, hey, maybe we should, alter the business model here slightly before we go to market with this.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what gets you up every single morning? Like, it's always so impressive to me for people who've been in the industry for a while, because as transformational as helping talent acquisition and HR can be, because they need help, they need, this industry needs innovation. It can sometimes be difficult because people are resistant to change. It's a type of industry that has lagged behind others. So what keeps you going? How do you continue to want to innovate and wake up every day and do what you do?
So 2 things. One are things like this. Even though these conferences are extremely hectic, as you know, very chaotic, feet hurt for weeks afterwards, your back is thrashed, but meeting, like talking with people like you, talking with Jerry Crispin and Shannon Pritchett and, all of these amazing people, Ryan, and hearing their excitement about what they're doing, it often sparks something inside of me. I find that if I go like 3 or so months without going to a conference speaking or expoing or having clients there or whatever, I get a little... like, I just don't want to do it. Why do I do this? So getting me up in the morning is, the conferences are a big part of it, I would say. And then on the other side, just the clients, right? Like, so, I met a couple of people here, and they were, they've just gotten these amazing new jobs, and I worked with them like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they're like, I want to work with you again. Like, I'm super psyched about this new job. I want to partner with you. And then you feel that sort of like belief in your services, and if they're excited, you can get excited. And what I tell my people when I interview them in their performance reviews all the time, I say, hey, I know that this is not it doesn't feel motivating, right? We're not selling Oreos or jeans or shoes or anything cool, right? We're selling these giant software systems that take forever to sell, and they cost a mint, and you got to get 5 people sign off or whatever. I was like, but what wakes me up every day and what gets me excited is that unless you have a trust fund, you, your mom, your kids, your friends, everyone works. Every single person, unless you're, lucky enough to be a trust fund baby. I actually did hire a trust fund baby, but we'll talk about that later. And I was like, our clients' products make that better, or at least they're trying, right? And we spend 70% of our lives working.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
We are contributing, however, third time removed, to making work better for most of the world for most of their lives.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So related to that, we were talking about employee engagement and some of the technology that you like around there. And, you're right. We're spending 70% of our time at work. So how does one make work compelling? Like, how should companies think about optimizing employee engagement? What are the factors that matter?
So can I tell you a story that I think illustrates this? So the other day, somebody was in, there's all these Facebook groups, and we're all talking about problems that we're having in HR, talent acquisition, or whatever.
Yeah.
And this one woman asked, she's like, well, we're a 30-some-odd company. We're a bootstrap startup. We're trying to get a work flex policy in place, but our employees never seem to like whatever we come up with. And so there's a bunch of people in the comments saying, hey, just treat your employees like adults, they'll fall in line, or hey, we easily implemented all work from home, da-da-da-da-da. But these people were from big giant airlines or massive retail chains, or and so I was starting to feel for this woman because I've been in the same boat. So I messaged her privately, and I was like, hey, I think I have something that can help you. And so we get on the phone, and I was like, all those people mean well, and absolutely we should treat our employees like adults. But on the other hand, you're dealing with a problem that they've never probably had. And so what we did was we built out a work flex policy, right? And we have some work from home time and work from every other way. And we put it in a really easy to understand document and just had everybody sign off on it. And for a while that worked fine. Mm-hmm. But what really turned it around was treating them like adults, but just in a different way than everybody was talking about on that particular thread in that conversation, which was we finally, because we tried everything, patio rides and parties and, giving them more time off and all this other business, and nothing was happening. And finally we were just like, hey guys, we're going to treat you like adults, which means that you are at least 50%, if not more, responsible for your own career happiness. Mm-hmm. And we want you to be happy here. We absolutely do. We don't want anyone here to be unhappy. But if you cannot find a way to get yourself excited about the work that we do here, then we do have to say, it's not gonna work because it's too small a group to really get there. So all we ask for is, take control of your own schedule, be consistent, do this, do that. Yeah. And that conversation did more than all the ping pong tables, all the, parties, all the little outings that we did, all the team building, all the conference stipends. We had a bunch of benefits, and we weren't seeing real, true change until we treated them like actual adults. And part of that, I believe, is holding them accountable for a portion of that. And I think that is one thing that is actually missing in employee engagement today. Everybody's trying to make them happy. And how are you? And what's going on? And how can we fix what's going on? But maybe the question should be, how can they fix what's going on?
Yeah. I think it's difficult, though, because, we do have differences, I believe, in the generations right now. Mm-hmm. And as much as people either argue for or against this, I think that there are different expectations by different generations. So I think our generation, we do take a lot of responsibility and accountability for what we do. I mean, there's the grit element, the, powering through. We've seen, a couple of recessions or downsides in the industry. And, I kind of look at the maybe younger millennial generation, or really what I call the Snapchat generation. Yeah. And I feel as though there is this sense of, what are you doing for me lately? Not what can I do for you and your organization? Mm-hmm. And to some extent, it gets augmented by the fact that there is a supply and demand issue right now with talent pools, particularly in Silicon Valley and particularly with engineering and product development. So I agree with you 100%, but can that actually work with this younger generation?
I think it can, and here's the reason. Because there is that supply and demand thing, right? But what are you going to offer that the next person's not going to offer, right? The salaries are basically the same, the benefits are basically the same, the work is, in essence, the same. Mm-hmm. But if you can offer them, that control, as I told them, I was like, I'm absolutely 100% behind you. We can figure out your path together, but you have to be responsible for it as well. I know it's difficult to get out of that generation, but I truly believe, and I think I said this to Tim Sackett a couple of years ago, if we expect it of them, it's just the flip side of what everybody else was saying. Treat them like adults and they'll act like adults, but also expect them to act like adults. Yeah. And when they don't, you can call them out on that. And yes, you may lose this one or that one, but for the most part, I think people actually want to feel needed, they want to feel important, and they want to feel like they're part of something that's not just a cog in a wheel, which they will go for a 10% bump to a cog in a wheel type company, which is fine. But usually what ends up happening is they're like, yeah, she's right, I am in charge of my own career, and I'd rather build it here than a place where I'm this sort of faceless, nameless person. Yeah. So I do think it's possible. It's harder, for sure, but it's definitely worth doing, because when you do get that out of them, they are whip smart. They are hardworking. They do understand nuance that you and I don't, right? I was playing video games with my kids the other day, and Quinlan is 18. And so I was trying to get these little, PlayStation nubbins to move around, and he's like, I was like, I'm sorry, honey, I just don't get it. He's like, look around, and I wasn't getting it fast enough. He's like, I guess I never thought what it would be like to grow up without knowing that this knob means this and square means that, and he's like, I just never thought about it before because I spent my whole life growing up like that. And that's how a lot of millennials and Gen Z, I guess, which is who we're really talking about now.
Yeah, totally.
they're coming up, like they're just used to it. They just know how to do it. And I don't mean in a sense like, oh, teach me how to text, I'm an old lady, but like in the sense that it's genuinely like native to them.
Yeah.
They absolutely can do it faster and with a better sense of how to complete a task than maybe you or I could. Even though they might not yet have this strategic mindset, the grit, the focus that we tend to bring to the table in our generation.
No, that makes sense. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
So what's next for you, Maren Hogan?
Oh my gosh. So for the last like 3 years, I've said, this is the year that I'm going to start speaking more and I'm going to start writing more and move back from managing the agency and let them do their thing. And then I would speak and talk and write and travel. So every year it's gotten better, and so that continues to be my focus. I want to get more writing out under my own byline.
Okay.
I want to do a lot more teaching. I absolutely loved training agencies in Boston a couple months ago or weeks ago. So I think that's what's next, is kind of like taking what I've learned, which has been a hard one, and applying it to other leaders, agencies, companies that are maybe a little bit smaller, companies that have a lot of women employed in them. Because it's a fun new thing. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was so much fun chatting with you, and I love it. And so just so all of our listeners know, Maren was the first person who was actually truly poolside that came by today. So everybody else came from the conference, the expo hall, and they were all like suited up, and Maren came actually chilling, relaxing, which I think is the sign of someone who's really an owner and not necessarily running around with all this craziness. So I think you own the day today. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. This is
awesome.
super fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great.